In Management Matters, the Center for Presidential Transition. That's the name of a new organization just launched by the Partnership for Public Service. The goal is to create a single place to store knowledge about the handoff between administrations. That way, new presidents don't need to start from scratch. For more, I'm joined by David Eagles, Director of Presidential Transition at the Partnership for Public Service. David, this effort gets underway in earnest this April. What's the plan?
So the plan is to be the central source, as you say, for transition planning. You know, the nature of transitions have changed drastically. They're much bigger, they're much more complex, and they're much more dangerous than ever before. And things have changed even from 8 years ago, so we're trying to respond to that. We're trying to start early, and we're trying to talk to the campaigns about getting set up early around transition planning.
You also compiled a presidential transition guide. It's about 200 pages and includes key documents like a memorandum of understanding between administrations and a how-to guide for presidential appointments. How should presidential candidates use this information?
Well, I think first is to just start early, to understand that we not only have a guide, but we also have an online platform which they can come to that houses all the files from the Bush transition and from the Obama transition and from the Romney transition, because it's important to think about it that way. If your candidate has a viable chance of winning, you need to start planning for transition. This is why we ask that they get set up in early April with their transition leadership in place by May.
You've attracted some big names to your advisory board. The list includes Joshua Bolten, Clay Johnson, Ted Kaufman, Michael Levitt, Mac McClarty, and Donna Shalala. Collectively, they represent the past 3 administrations and former GOP nominee Mitt Romney. What role will they play in this launch?
So they'll play a critical role. I mean, I think what the partnership is trying to do is convene the relevant players around transition. And if we want to change behaviors, we need this surround strategy of folks who've done this before, who have experienced this before, match them with people who are trying to solve complex issues, which is what we're trying to do here at the center. And ultimately, we can expect much better results around the transition this go around.
Last May, we hosted Dan Blair, president of the National Academy of Public Administration. He's leading a project called Transition 2016. Here's an excerpt from that interview.
And we're going to be providing the thought leadership necessary to provide the campaign and transition teams with basic information upon which they can form their policy initiatives. The third leg of this is the political appointee project, and we're working with our partners Ernst & Young in identifying the toughest positions in government and providing profiles of those holding those positions and updating them.
David, that sounds similar to what you've outlined. Are you in competition with NAPA?
No, not at all. I mean, I think we view ourselves as the hub of transition planning from beginning to end, and we're working closely with the candidate staff and with relevant players like the National Association of Public Administrators. They're a critical part of our strategy, so they're plugged into our network, and collectively we're going to come to the transition teams with the support.
You know, we're still in the early primary stages. We've got the caucuses going on. It's hard to imagine that we're already planning a transition for a new presidency. Why is this so important right now?
Well, it's critically important if we want better service from our government, if we want government to perform effectively, and this is what the partnership is all about. It really starts at transition. And when you look at the results of how new administrations have gotten started, they haven't gotten their people in. Take 200 days after the administration is set up, you have less than 30% of your leadership in place. The fact that these folks are not executing on their policies, their campaign promises on day one, they're not doing this because they're not planning early enough, and this is what we're really trying to get out there. If they do set up in April, they get started in May, June timeframe, we're confident that results can be drastically different and they can get off on the right foot and execute what they promised.
Good deal and good luck. David Eagles, Director of Presidential Transition with the Partnership for Public Service. Thanks, David.
Thank you.